Hello and welcome to episode 52 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast. We are now officially the lowest position we've ever been since the podcast started. Nice and round number of 20th. It may change actually by the time you listen to this because Wealdstone play Braintree tomorrow night, and if they win, we're in the relegation zone officially. It feels a bit like we're in the relegation zone anyway, but anyway, just a quick heads up. Apologise for the audio recording without a mic, so Guy will sound like he's coming through really clearly. I'll sound a bit tinny, I imagine. So apologies for that, and there'll be a bit of background noise, I imagine, because I think I've just nervously clicked the mouse quite a lot, and usually I think I'm on mute, but I don't think I was on mute very much. So yeah, so it's just me and Guy tonight, just discussing the Southend game that's just happened, and also discussing Eastleigh, and then looking ahead to the next two league games at home to Hartlepool and Solihull. So that's enough for me. If you've got any questions or any solutions for what Tommy needs to do or what the club needs to do, send them to atfcpodcast@gmail.com, and I'm sure we'll get around to talking about them next week. Enjoy the episode and up the shots. So the shots come away from two away games, Saturday and Tuesday, where they were before the start of them 2 points off the drop. They are now 1 point off the drop. Maidenhead are above them, and I believe now in 20th, 19th still, right? Oh God.
We're 20th now.
It's 20, of course. We've finally hit the two. I think we've been in the ones the entire time this season. So that is the first time, I believe, all season. Maybe since the first couple of games or so. So yes, most recently tonight was Southend. The shots going down 2-1, 2-0 down through Gus Scott Morris and Noor Hussein, who got the opener. And then shots came back into it in the last stages. Cam Hargreaves getting one back in the 78th minute, and then the shots knocked on the door a little bit, but were unable to get the win. And yeah, so we'll start there. Guy, what was your thoughts on tonight's game against Southend?
Well, as I was just saying to you before we started recording, it's a bit awkward to sort of do this, straight afterwards when you're sort of feeling quite vexed and bitter by the whole thing. Because, a little bit. Well, can I take both games? Because to be fair, I think in many respects, sort of my grumbles about Saturday were also there on tonight's game, which is that we're very toothless. I just don't see. Whereas you think back at the beginning of the season, we were so free scoring, we were totting up the goals, and then we sort of hit a slump. We then came back with a win here. Then it looked like things were starting again, and then it didn't. And here we are now, again, the same situation. We're leaking goals. We've made changes at the back, and the attack's playing too deep at the moment, and and you can't see, there's chances being trying to fashioned out, but too far away from goal. We lost Henry, in the first half of the Saturday game, and that concerned me a bit because he is in many respects our touch of class, our bit of quality. Certainly at the beginning of the season, he was providing a little bit of vision, picking out players, and they were getting the chances in. You noticed sort of, before Christmas, he was starting to drift further and further back, and we've seen that now with the other attackers as well. Barrett, for example, is playing quite deep as well. Barham got forward a bit, but honestly, it's a bit of a struggle and a bit of a grind at the moment. And my worry was thinking, if we go behind, it's going to be difficult to see us coming back in. We were lucky not to go behind in the first 10 minutes. How Southend managed to blaze a chance over the bar from about 4 yards out. We rode our luck there. We gave away a goal in that sort of golden 15 minutes after the second half started, which is when we seem to concede a lot of goals. And, if for both, actually, I'd say for all three goals, both of Southend's two goals and Aldershot's, there was space. And certainly, I think it was the second Southend goal was a counter attack. No one on him at the edge of the in the penalty area. He slotted it away, and that really has been something that I've noticed about National League games, and we've talked about this previously, is that you get bodies behind the ball. It's really difficult to fashion chances, and this is the problem that we're facing. We're not, we don't we find ourselves facing too many players in front of goal, and if you're playing it deep, at the back, it's very hard to get around that. It was great we got a goal back, sort of 7 or 8 minutes after the second goal went in, but it never really felt like we were really going to, stage a comeback of any kind. And certainly we had, the new boy came in, the West Ham Academy guy came in sort of, for Barrett, through the midway through the second half. But looking at the bench as well, there was no, we've talked a little bit about, the starters and finishers, but really there's no, but you kind of feel that the best team is out there. The first team is out starting from the first minute. And so looking at the bench to see who's going to replace, these players in the second half, it's very hard to see anyone who's actually going to conjure up a bit of magic. And certainly Henry wasn't on, so I'm assuming he was injured. But it does really beg the question, where are we going to get the goals? And we really are in a place now where we do need to be getting it. And just as before we came on, we talked, how many points do we need to be safe? Currently we're around 30 points, but to be properly safe, we need about 50. So where are we going to get the next 6 wins from? That's what I'm worried about.
We've only had 6 wins all season in the league, so yeah, trying to find another 6 is going to be our struggle. And yeah, I agree. I think basically the best team that we've got currently is probably out there. The only one I'd say is Ryan Jones should be getting 90 minutes every week if he's fit in this team. I think he's probably the only. Well, I think I said it after Saturday's game, but when he came on, but also came on quite late. That he's probably the only player that can take on a man and drive past someone. And he does that whether he's in the centre attacking mid role, which he came on tonight. I don't think it's a coincidence that he comes on and we had a good spell. And I didn't watch it. I'm listening in, but we had a good patch before they scored, and we were on top a little bit. And obviously they've countered and scored. And then we managed to come back into it and get that goal. But I do feel like Ryan Jones is the key to getting this front line working a bit better. The Kai Corbett experiment, I don't think it worked at Eastleigh when he came on for Henry. And he's got 65 minutes. I didn't really hear his name very much. So I think that's the only change I would make, I think, is Ryan Jones has to be in there. But I think that just says how kind of weak this squad is now. I know we've been struck down by a fair few injuries, but we've got Luke Jenkins, Maghomer, and Mullins on the bench. And as much as you want to put Mullins up top as a second option, essentially that's 3 centre backs out of the 7 substitutes. You've got a keeper in there. You've got Madger, who can't get a minute edgeways, so it seems like he's a kind of pointless addition to the bench if he's never going to come on. And then we've got Brad Dollahan, who obviously came on in both games, Eastleigh and Southend. So I don't know where we go, to be honest. But can we get someone? Can we get someone else in? I think
at this point it's now loans, isn't it? So, the thing is, what's also, one of the things that you posed in the question for us was, what does Tommy Witherington do now, right? And it strikes me that, obviously they're probably working things out on the pitch and we don't see it, but one of the things that has stood out for me as well in watching in recent weeks is the slow build up that we have. This sort of links to what I was saying about, the bodies that get behind the ball then make it much harder to be able to sort of fashion out any chances. And then, of course, you're trying shots from afar, and the probability of that actually making a difference, having an effect is limited. So really, I mean, if there's anything that I would have thought that they should be really sort of trying to push for is really work on the counter attack. Really work on sort of the quick distribution of balls. You know, I mean, I know that there's work on set pieces and things like that, and certainly our goal tonight came from a corner, but it was sort of nodded out to, fortunately, Hargreaves, standing empty at the standing alone at the edge of the area. But we can't rely on set pieces. So what we really need to be doing is to be hitting on the counter attack, and that's actually where Southend picked up their goals from. Certainly, their first one was a good counter attack, and in terms of that, and I guess also the other thing would be stronger pressing. But I mean, really harrying down. And as you pointed out, yes, there was sort of a 10-minute spell or so after the in sort of between Southend's first and second goals where we looked a little bit more dynamic. And even a ball, we even put a ball onto the post, which came back inches. It would have been in. Maybe it would have been a different game. Similarly, in the last couple of minutes, we had Mullins, from a corner with a glancing header that went wide. These are. Of course, we're going to look back at the at the end of the season and see these as kind of the chances that went begging when we really need them to go. But they are only a couple of chances. We need to be fashioning a hell of a lot more. And so that, to me, suggests we need to be thinking about things like counter-attacking. We need to be pressing more. We need to be, faster in our distribution. That, to me, is probably where we go. But obviously, the manager knows best.
Yes, yes, apparently so. But yeah, I guess that yeah, you're talking about kind of pressing. I think earlier in the season, especially those early season goals, we were tending to seize on mistakes. Like James Henry was
Mm,
picking up a ball because a defender had tried to pass it back to a keeper, or it had just fallen. We were putting teams under a lot of pressure, and I think we have kind of lost that. And without that side of our game, we do look. I mean, especially in the Eastleigh game, we looked very toothless. I mean, the ball just basically goes either to Aaron Jones or Frost, the left wing
mm,
backs or right wing backs, and the ball is then recycled, or there's a ball played forward to a player that's on the left wing now. But
mm,
we've had to take a player out from the centre of the pitch near the goal to get
yeah.
him there. And now we're like miles away from the goal.
Yeah, and also we find ourselves, with a slow build up because of course, bodies get between us and the goal. We get forced out to the sides, which of course then makes it much harder because then what you've also I've noticed as well is that we do seem to be pumping balls in a hell of a lot more now. If you think about in the early part of the season and even last season as well, a lot of our game was passing on the ground, sort of, and if you think about sort of the set pieces and even corners, we did a lot of short corners, which ended up with a lot of people commenting about that and getting somewhat frustrated. Now, what seems to happen, I was struck by how even the first 10 minutes I saw Widrington, pinging a ball forwards, from deep in defence, up to the players at the top. And when I mean it's all very well doing that, but the ability to control and to move with the ball does reduce when you're putting it up in the air.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think all of last season when we were going a bit more direct, it was because we had Kwame Thomas up top who could
Mm,
literally just stop a ball in the air
yeah.
and
And
give.
we've talked about him before, right? Exactly. So we bring him on for the last 10 minutes to sort of just hold on to the ball, or bring it down and sort of take it into the corner. Yeah, we don't have that man or someone like him this season. So we're struggling. But then of course we were also. Yeah, honestly just it's frustrating at the moment, and I think we've talked about this. We've discussed this in previous weeks where we do seem to get a win, and we hope that the momentum is about to ready to take us forward, and then it sort of dissipates. And that's also why we've also seen in some of these cup competitions, some that we wouldn't have taken as seriously in previous seasons, whether it's Hampshire Cup or this National League Cup, where we've been putting out full strength squads in order to try and build the confidence, boost the morale, get some goals, and hopefully that will spill over into the league. But it's been very bitty, and And I just it's yeah, I mean, well, we'll come to it, but I think it's disappointing that sort of two games on the road and nothing to show for it.
Yes, yeah, nothing to show for it. Yeah, Steve Gibbs on the commentary tonight was saying that the last clean sheet we kept in the league was the reverse game against Southend. Um,
Mm,
so that is also now a long time since we've had
yeah, end of October.
a solid defensive effort in order to get points and get wins. Those streak of draws that we had were 2-alls, and you know I mean, listen, I think the attacking way that we've played this season, I don't think it's going to change. I don't think we can change too much. I
Mm,
mean, and we're definitely not going to change system. The back five is staying, the two in midfield are staying, centre attacking mid and two strikers. But um, we've got to find a balance where we either don't concede or we are going to go down because I don't think we can score 3 goals every week. We can't.
mm,
I would love to believe we can, but Barham and Barrett are not going to score us 3 goals every week. They'll score us twos here and there, and
mm,
every now and then we might get a 4 or a 5. We can't rely on just conceding two every game and then hoping that we can score more.
mm,
We could have last season because we had Tolaj and Stokes. I would have backed us to beat every team that we've conceded two against. We would have beaten Southend, probably would have beaten
mm,
East with with
mm,
with something different up top. That's got to be the where we look as well. Like, do we need to change at the back? Like, is Jenkins ready? Like, what? How can we make that back line sturdy enough so we don't have to put so much pressure on the attack to score us so many goals?
mm,
Um, and yeah, I mean, it's two away games that I wasn't, super optimistic about. I think the two teams with aspirations to be higher than they currently are, and Southend now are on the not on the brink of the playoffs. They're still about 4 points behind, but you know, psychologically, a home win against Aldershot will, that'll push them forward for the rest of the season. They might finish strongly and manage to snatch, the seventh place. Um,
mm.
Eastleigh, I mean, I don't think they've got much chance of making the playoffs, and I think we made them look pretty good on Saturday. But yeah, I suppose worth talking about Eastleigh in terms of the defense on its own, which the defense definitely looks shaky. I think on the ball, Woodhouse probably had his worst game for the shots, I think. And yeah, just he's been so comfortable on the ball. His composure has been superb. But yeah, I think on Saturday he even looked like he was a bit nervous in the back five. Um, yeah, and the first goal comes from an attacking throw, which you know that wasn't on my bingo card for my nice day out down in Southampton. To
Mm.
because we had played okay. I think we'd broadly been in the game, and I think we'd probably been on top, to be honest.
Yeah.
But without making any clear-cut chances, you wouldn't. I don't think you'd say we were. We should have been 2-0 up or something. But yeah, one attacking throw, and the momentum just seemed to shift.
Yeah, and then of course that goal just before half time, in added minutes, that pretty much just killed things off because then of course what you've got is, you just need. I mean, unless we got a goal back, early on in the second half, all the momentum was with Eastleigh.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so this Tyrese Shade who couldn't hit a handle with a banjo for the first 45 minutes, cuts in from the right hand side and yeah, sneaks it in near post past Dewhurst, but yeah, kind of I don't know where to lay the blame. I haven't actually watched the highlights because I'm still actually quite upset about the whole situation at Eastleigh. It was the worst I've felt under Tommy Witherington, I think. And it's still today, and it's the reason I didn't go to Southend tonight because I couldn't. I don't think I could put myself through that again.
Mm.
Yeah, there's definitely a fear Witherington missed tackle in there. There's probably another missed tackle when he's cut in from the right hand side, but that's the one you see obviously as it goes into the bottom corner. Um, yeah, I mean, a shout out to the travelling support at Southend. I mean, nearly 200
Hmm.
after. If any, I mean, quite a few went to the Easter game as well. Saw that and then thought, yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll go and watch them again. I'll go on the freezing cold February night to Southend, and watch the team. And they were nearly rewarded. They very well could have come away with a point, and it would have been a very good point, up there. But yes, nothing to show from those two away games. But fortunately, we've got two home games to make up for it. Um, if we're looking optimistically, I'm going to try and look optimistically at it. But I guess in general, the uh, the precursor to the next four home league games, which we've got a weird streak coming up in between. That comes the Sittingbourne away game. But yeah, I think the home form is going to be absolutely vital. We've only had six wins all season. Two of those have been away. Four of them have been at home. We absolutely have to get. I mean, I think we have to get two wins out of the next four home league games to really stand a chance, because we're going to have a little streak of away games, and the games are going to slip away from us. So it's
Mm.
Hartlepool on Saturday, and then Solihull Moors on the following Tuesday. Both pretty mid-table, but similarly to Southend and Eastleigh. I mean, they probably, if you pick up four wins in a row, you might be dangling somewhere near the seventh position place. So obviously previously in the season, a 2-0 defeat at Hartlepool. Manny Diasariovi, can never say his name. He scored both, and his record against us, I think we said in the podcast before, is really good. And at Solihull was quite a decent game from Aldershot. Played quite well, but we're downed by a 90th minute worldy strike into the top corner. So yeah, looking to bounce back from those two wins, two defeats. Guy, what are your thoughts ahead of these two home games?
Well, I mean, so Hartlepool lost tonight against Altrincham. So there is that. I mean, their form is that they've lost this evening and they drew at the weekend. Solihull's lost both of their last two games. They have a game tomorrow. So these are teams, and they're also mid-table as well. So pretty much like Eastleigh, like Southend. So that, which doesn't instill me with a lot of confidence, because I think most of these teams are much of a muchness. I mean, we're all kind of there, and we all sort of broadly play the same sort of way. So we kind of, I mean, obviously there is obviously specifics and detail as to how related to each of these clubs and their specialisms and their players, but National League, it's generally been quite similar, and you've not, obviously you don't have the stellar players. It can be pedestrian in places. So look, I mean, so it is going to be mid-table teams. Can we make it? Can we make a difference? We've done, actually, one of the things that is striking is we've done pretty well against sort of the top clubs, right? Sort of in the top 10. We've pretty much held our own against sort of the leading clubs. And we've talked about it before. We've tended to struggle against the clubs below us, but now those in the middle, we need to make a difference. We need to do something against them, as you pointed out about our home form being important here. I've just had a look that actually, we do seem to be, the bookies' favourites just slightly against Hartlepool this weekend. Although, admittedly, the odds are starting to lengthen a little bit on us since I checked before the Southend game and since the result. So they're a little bit less confident about us, but the impression seems to be that we should be up for it because it's a home win. Sorry, we're playing at home. Obviously, we don't have the odds yet for Solihull because it's too far away. But I would suspect similar. So yeah, I mean, we really do need to start making a difference. The problem is that we've been discussing this. Where are the goals going to come from? Given the style of play, and it's hard to see it changing in any kind of substantial way, unless they're doing, unless the management team and coaching staff are working on doing different things. another thing as well, you talk about, well, can we bring someone in? Well, even when we do have sort of the lone players, of course, then the challenge is, of course, being able to get them to adapt to the team and to get them sort of in sync with the existing players, right? I mean, it's all very well talking about, we need to bring someone in, but if they don't know how their teammates play, or they're not familiar with them, it makes it somewhat difficult. So, I think really it's got to be the established players. It's got to be the players who've been there, who know each other, who've been there since the start of the season. And unfortunately, unless we start looking at doing different things, I don't see how things are going to be substantially different on Saturday. I'm struggling to see. There was this sense about a couple of seasons ago when if we seem to be, it was very difficult to see us coming back once we went a goal down. Now, I don't think that is the case this season, but certainly I'm struggling to see where the goals are coming from.
Yes, absolutely. So for Saturday, I think Theo picked up either his fifth or his 10th. I can't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm presuming it's 10. So he will be unavailable for Saturday. So I'm not sure what that means. I presume that would mean Orion Jones would go to left wing back. Frost would be in the middle with Hargreaves, but we might see a switch and Madja might get a start. I don't think we have a great track record of letting people start and then not finishing the game. I mean, Henry came off on Saturday after also coming off 2 Saturdays before that against Boreham Wood in the FA Trophy. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Tommy does there, and whether he gives many more minutes to Dollahan. I don't think he's had much of a chance to show what he can do in this team. And yeah, as you say about loan players and bring them in, I mean, we're pretty lucky that Armitage and Woodhouse, on the whole, have just slipped in pretty seamlessly. Without, I mean, if we had two disaster class defenders join us, we really would be struggling, and we'd be throwing in Maghomer and Jenkins to try and get us out of the mess. I just wanted to add just a look ahead now, because the filed game has been rearranged for the 1st of April, funnily enough. April Fool's Day, of course. The streak of games we've got from mid-March is rancid, and basically relegation 6-pointers every 4 days. So we go Tuesday, 18th of March, away to Maidenhead. Saturday at home to Ebbsfleet, must win. Also, Ebbsfleet just drew at home to Forest Green, so they're not just rolling over and letting people have points off them. The Tuesday after that, Wildstone away. The Saturday after that, Rochdale away. I mean, that okay, fair enough. And then obviously we go filed at home on the Tuesday. So that's a streak of 4 relegation teams in 5 games that we've got coming up. So yeah, this next 4 home league games are vital for our safety, I think. Oh,
Yeah.
got anything
We're
positive?
two-thirds of the way through the season as well. There's only a third left, so only 16 more games. So we need to start.
I
It
can't
needs to
believe
start
anything.
happening now.
That's crazy. I know we're 5th bottom, but that is the 3rd worst win ratio of any team. Like, that
Hmm.
includes Ebbsfleet. That's not just like removing Ebbsfleet, who will have one of the top 10 worst points totals by the end of the season. I actually had to look up who had the worst points total.
Mm.
I forgot about Dover's. They ended up on 1 point after their
Yeah.
administration thing. I thought it was Hyde, but they actually
Yeah.
ended up in 10. Oh,
But you point out, I mean, we've been getting so many draws this season, 12 draws out, so far, and which stands in real contrast to last season, where we were a very hot and cold team. We either won or we lost. This season, I mean, certainly sort of through, October, November, December, the draws were the ones that were sort of keeping us above, 20th, 21st spot. But now we've gone two defeats in a row. As you say, yes, they were on the road, so probably less optimistic about them. But now we need to. It's not draws are not enough anymore. We need the wins.
Yes, absolutely. And it's the top two most drawing teams up against each
Mm.
other on Saturday. Hartlepool have somehow drawn 14 of the
Mm.
first
So
two games.
so it'll
That's
probably end up being a
every other
draw
game.
again then.
Every other game.
So it'll be a draw again then, is what you say.
Yeah, but I thought that about Southend and Eastleigh. I thought we'd maybe get a couple of draws. I mean, the table wouldn't be looking great. We would still be 19th
Mm.
if we had two draws, but it'd be quite nice.
Well, yes, because I was watching it on DAZN. So the half time. They always do the sort of the. You should never look at it, but the league table as it stands. And so there it was. You know, we were drawing, so 2 points clear. It looked pretty good, but not now after 90 minutes.
No, actually, I think I am wrong. If we got 2 points from the last two away games, we'd still be 20th and 1 point off
Mm.
Maidenhead because they somehow went went to Oldham and won and kept a clean sheet. So
Mm.
anything we can do, Maidenhead can do better.
Yeah. So it comes back to the point I was making earlier, which is that we need to somehow pick up 6 wins in the next, in the next 16 games that we've got to make ourselves safe. If we're thinking of 50 points as around 50 points as the target. So the question is where we're going to find them.
Yes, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And I mean, there's not. I wonder if it'll affect the points we need, depending on because there's not many of the top teams are taking points off everyone. It's
Mm.
quite an evenly spaced league. Other than Ebbsfleet's probably the slight outlier, but it's quite even,
Mm.
which means that the points total for the relegation zone might be a little bit lower, or it might be a little
Yeah.
bit higher. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure actually what that maths insinuates. Anyway, this is enough about the National League. Everyone have a few days off thinking about Aldershot, and we'll be back again next week to discuss the two home league games. Thank you, Guy.
No problem. Thank you.